Well, no, the Trump administration did not say that Tylenol causes autism. What they announced is a plan to update warning labels and physician guidance on acetaminophen use in pregnancy. And they specifically note, take a look at their announcement, that while some studies suggest a link to neurodevelopmental issues, the evidence is mixed. They say that the government is interested in exploring this further and that physicians should exercise judgment, and that the research suggests an association. They don't say causation, and that they want more data. So what is so offensive about this? Well, every Democratic senator has taken to X and saying Tylenol doesn't cause autism. Tylenol is totally safe, despite the fact that there is scientific evidence that there is an association. So why are they so freaked out? Why are they so against curing autism? Why are they so against scientific curiosity? Here's CNN flatly denying that there's anything to see here. Like it's done. The science is done. It's safe. We don't even need to look. Well, now pregnant ladies are taking to TikTok to publish videos like this, where they are taking Tylenol in their pregnancy with wild abandon. Now, as someone who has been pregnant several times, this is unfathomable. Most pregnant women don't drink alcohol. They don't color their hair. They don't eat many foods that they are warned about being associated with possible problems. Anything that we think that can possibly hurt the baby, we stay away from. Now, but they hate Trump so much that they're weaponizing their pregnancy to really show them putting their babies at any modicum of risk. Most women who become pregnant don't take it. Even though a study published last month from researchers, some of them from Harvard even, published this, finding a positive association of prenatal acetaminophen use with certain neurological disorders. So are liberals in the media just saying, I don't want to see that study, I'm just going to block it out, it doesn't exist? Why would they do this? Why? Why don't you care to see everything? Joining us to discuss is Dr. Brian Hooker. He's the author of Vax Unvax, Let the Science Speak. He's also the father of an autistic child and the chief scientific officer of Children's Health Defense. So thank you for joining us. This is something you have been discussing for a long time. The Trump administration is clear that the data is mixed, even though we see studies suggesting association. Can you summarize what is known and unknown about this and why it would be controversial to ask questions?
Well, I think that the precautionary principle would be that if something could cause harm, that, in the evidence, perhaps lacking or not completely, settled at this particular point, that you would want to protect that developing baby during pregnancy and even after pregnancy. But there's really a growing body of literature. The earliest literature that came out regarding the connection between Tylenol and autism was a paper that was authored by a military doctor by the name of Stephen Schultz in 2008. And in the body of literature, there's probably 20 or more papers that show that there's a strong link between the use of acetaminophen during pregnancy, after pregnancy, in the peripartum period, and also postnatally in babies, that associates it with autism. And I think that, based on this growing body of literature, yes, there is some conflicting literature that there are some studies that have come out recently in Sweden. I think that they're over-controlled for similarities within the populations that they were comparing. But there is such a growing body of evidence regarding acetaminophen and autism. And acetaminophen was never really appropriately tested in the 1950s and 60s when it was first rolled out. And we need to be able to ask the scientific question, warn individuals of a potential issue given the growing body of scientific literature, and protect our children from all harm at all cost.
Now, they're not saying that we know it's causal, that's the end of the story. They're saying they want to know more, and Democrats are taking such offense to this. Like, we actually don't want to know anymore. we're done here, the science is in. Why do you think that they're so defensive and resistant to knowing more?
I think that there is, a lot of bad science, and there's a lot of bad culture that was fostered around the COVID-19 pandemic when we heard things like settled science and trust the science. Those are two very, very unscientific phrases. Science is never settled. We're always asking questions. We can always do better for our children. We can always produce a safer medicine. We can always produce a safer vaccine. And then trusting the science, I think that more appropriately, we need to test the science and to see the backlash associated with this, where somebody would take a medicine that, yes, there is a risk. There are known risks. There's a warning label that's associated with the packet insert of Tylenol and of generic brands of acetaminophen. And to do this in protest is really, harming your own life and the life of the unborn child within you.
Of course, our bodies are under attack from toxins everywhere. It's enough to make you paranoid. The air you breathe, the food you eat, the products that you use, being exposed to mRNA technology, 5G, we have all these studies showing an association with negative health. We just don't know. So the best thing that we can do is optimize the health that we can control. That's why in this house, we all take Kimchi One from Bright Core Nutrition. Each capsule is packed with over 900 strains of probiotics, live enzymes, and antioxidants to flush out toxins, rebuild gut balance, and fortify your immune system against the daily assault. A strong gut means better resistance, more energy, sharper focus, smoother digestion, stronger protection from the inside out. Kimchi One is an all-natural, non-GMO, dairy-free, gluten-free, made 100% in the USA by a company that truly cares about your health and your freedom. So if you want to defend your body naturally, this is where you start. Head on over to mybrightcore.com/redacted. If you use the code redacted, you'll get 25% off your order. Again, go to mybrightcore.com/redacted or call the number on your screen and you can ask further questions. You can get up to 50% off and free shipping. One of the best deals right now is free shipping and a bottle of vitamin D3 with your order. So again, detoxify your body, rebuild your gut. mybrightcore.com/redacted. Now, we saw that data was hidden from us when the COVID vaccine was rolled out. And so we never had proper informed consent. We were never warned about the risks of myocarditis. We were never told that it was not tested for transmission. And that was pushed on us. So what we see now seems to me an obvious correction in that you can still go take Tylenol with wild abandon if you want to. But there is something that should be available for you to evaluate so that you have full informed consent. And I guess the backlash would be, we don't want that, right?
I don't understand that. As a parent of a vaccine injured child, the vaccine information sheet that my wife and I signed to consent for his vaccination was woefully inadequate. So more information and more knowledge is more power. And so, having that information, having the information in hand that we have right now could have prevented my son's vaccine injury. Having information that could prevent your child from having low functioning, profound autism. This is not something, some type of glorified, neurodiversity. This is a child that perhaps can't speak, has trouble learning, can't control their body, has gut dysbiosis, can't even control their bowel or their bladder. These are the things that we're looking at when you look at people that are on the low functioning end of the autism spectrum. I would not wish that life on anybody, whatsoever. And so to be so cavalier about this, then I think that you need to take a step back, educate yourself, and bring yourself to a conclusion that, hey, maybe it's not politically palatable. Maybe you do not agree with everything that President Trump is doing or President Trump is saying, but let's take the information for information's sake and do the best that we can for our children.
Well, right. If we take a look, the UK government is saying, you know what, ignore this because Trump said it. And so, we're not going to take that into account here in the UK. do what you want. It's called Calpol there. So this is really a shoot the messenger just because is there any other way to see it?
No, I wish that there was some level of justification that could protect these children while, they are taking a known risk. The parents of the children taking known risk by administering prenatal and postnatal Tylenol, especially, and the research and the data show that there is at least some type of risk through age 5. So when President Trump was actually warning, regarding Tylenol given to babies, postnatally, that was a warning that you should be taken to heart. So, shoot the messenger, cancel culture, this whole thing, it is not rooted in science. It is not rooted in medicine. We can do better for our children. This administration is giving us information that we've been asking for years. This is a gift that we're being given, and we need to be able to use it wisely to protect our children.
I'm sorry if this upsets you, but here's a graphic that's been circulating in response to this, that autism doesn't need to be cured. As a parent of an autistic child, how does that strike you? I hope you don't mind me asking.
One of the worst things that a parent can ever go through is to see their child in pain, in excruciating pain that you cannot do nothing about. That is my world of autism. Is that, and it's very, very well known that there's a gut-brain axis, that a lot of children have gut dysbiosis. Even Simon Baron-Cohen, who is one of the forerunners in the forefront of autism research over the past 30 years, has acknowledged gut issues in autism. That type of debilitating pain that leads not only to gut pain, but also chronic head pain and chronic neuroinflammation, where a child is literally, in order to get their mind off the pain, hitting themselves somewhere else in their bodies. This is the autism that we're talking about. Yes, does it need to be cured? Absolutely. If you're neurodiverse, if you have a different way of thinking, and that's the extent of your autism diagnosis, God bless you. This is not what my family is dealing with. And this is not what at least 40% of the autism diagnoses in the US is low functioning autism and debilitating autism.
Right. As a parent, I understand what you're saying, and I can't imagine that there are people who would not go to the ends of the earth to give your child the best chance of living in this hard world as you possibly can. So to say, no, to hell with it. I mean, well, then let's just drink all we want during pregnancy and shoot up some crack and do whatever you want, right? If that's the case. That's asinine to think that way.
These political statements are not worth your child's health and well-being. Think about the individual that is growing, that is nurturing, that you've been given this gift of. One of the things that I can remember, for the longest time, one of the most exciting portions of my life, even leading up to it, was becoming a father. And so then to see, that something happened to my son that was preventable was very, very difficult. And I will say, in hindsight, when we saw my son regress into his autistic condition, it was after treating him for a vaccine injury that we treated with Tylenol. He was fevering. And he was fevering uncontrollably. So we were using rounds of Tylenol and baby aspirin. And that was the first time that he encountered Tylenol in his life. And that did lead to an autistic regression. So if you think that, this is all fake news, that it's wrong, please listen to me, listen at least to my personal story and my personal appeal as a father, as well as the scientific career that I've devoted for the last 24 years looking at the causes of profound autism.
Well, you're a hero, Dad. I'm so glad to have got to talk to you about this and break down the politics and continue to see what we need to be looking at. Again, the book is Vax Unvax, Let the Science Speak. And our guest has been Dr. Brian Hooker. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.